Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're in the right place at the right time. It is definitely Tuesday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, and I am so happy to have my guest in the green room, Miss Naimah. I know I'm murdering her name. I always murder her name. She gonna get me too, cause this is her second time. She ain't new no more. She's a friend to the show, and she's coming on. She's not filling in. She's definitely the guest on purpose, and I am so glad to have her on the show. I tell you, it's so exciting to have her here today. I'm looking forward to all the things that we talk about. It's going to be a lot of fun. So you all don't go nowhere. Y'all stick around and stay. And let me get these commercials out of the way. The first thing I like to do every time I go live is I always like to thank all of our healthcare heroes that are on the front line. You know, the reason why I call them heroes because they are keeping our loved ones alive, and even some of us they've had to patch up and send home. So I always celebrate them. I always thank them because they do an excellent job, and I want them to know somebody is thinking about them and somebody is praying for them and thanking them for all of the work that they do. So I always like to celebrate them every chance I get. I also like to celebrate our spiritual leaders. If you've got a spiritual leader, I know we just came out of a big spiritual weekend. If you've got a spiritual leader, please pray for them. Keep them lifted up in prayer because they work hard. They work hard, you know. And a special shout out to my spiritual leader, Dr. Hunt. Dr. Hunt has been with me 30 plus years, and I'm here to tell you that is not an easy job, you know, praying for me and keeping me encouraged for the last 30 plus years. Okay? So definitely shout out to him. So now let's move right along. I want to invite everybody to go over to my website, ask-dr-ron.com. When you get over there, I want you to scroll down and take a look at some of the advertisers that I have. These are a list of some of them that I like to highlight. RRJ Webb, Sir Synergy, Port Again Sam, and Prince Hunter Financial Group. Now, uh, all of these advertisers help make it possible for us to do what we do here on the show. So I need you to go over, click on the banner. It'll take you directly to their website, and you'll be able to see what they do. Now, let me highlight a few of these. Sir Synergy, if you're interested in finding energy efficient ways to save money for your house, Sir Synergy can help you with that. Solar panels, they can do some things that will help you not have to pay an energy bill going forward into the future. Port Again Sam, of course, is one of my favorites. He brings in some of the best wines and spirits from all over the world. And I tell you, if you click on the link, you can set yourself up a wine tasting, and I promise you, you will not be disappointed. Oh my God, his wine is, oh my God, that's all I can say. It's just delish. And last but not least, Prince Hunter Financial Group. Now they're offering four free classes for anybody that reaches out to them and interested in learning how to do forex trading, stock market trading. You got to start somewhere, so you need to learn the language. You need to learn how it works, and he can help you get started. So, four free classes. Click on the banner, call him up, and say, "Hey, I want my four free classes," and start your learning process. Okay? So, I am so excited to have my sister in broadcasting. She's been on the show just about a month ago now. And I tell you, when she came on, she was a lifesaver then. and she is agreed to come back with me. She was not afraid to come back. I'm just letting you know now. She came back on her own. I didn't have to bribe her or nothing. She came back on her own. And I tell you, she is so busy all the time. She broadcasts 7 days a week. You know, she is an advocate for women's causes. She campaigns all the time for the children. And I tell you, I have been so amazed. I started stalking some of her shows. You know, I'm like, oh, let me see what they talking about. So I start going over there, peeping here, peeping there. And I tell you, this woman got it going on. Her and her crew, they got it going on. So welcome back to the show, Miss Naimah.
Well, thank you very much. And for those who I have not yet met, my name is Naimah
Naimah.
Latif.
I knew I was gonna get it. Well, I said Naimah, right? I keep leaving.
Well, if you're a John Coltrane fan, you've heard the name Naimah because that's a very famous song that he wrote in honor of his wife, who actually helped him get off of his drug addiction and
Right.
was very inspirational in his
I'm gonna
career.
get it
So,
eventually.
yeah.
Maybe by the third time you come on.
Yeah,
Naimah.
I've had some people, it's taken them about 6 months, but eventually they got it.
Naimah. Naimah. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it.
You
I'm
got it.
getting
You got it.
close.
There
I'm
you
getting
go.
closer. You know. So welcome back to the show. You know, I apologize publicly for murdering your name. You know.
No, I've had it butchered worse. Don't
Okay.
worry.
Well, good, 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 good. So the last time you were on the show, you know, we talked about some of your vast broadcasts that you do, the different shows that you do. You know, like you're in the morning, in the afternoons, and the nighttime. You know, everybody's pulling on you, left, right, all over the place, and you don't slow down. So you must enjoy doing what you're doing.
Yes. You know, when you love what you do, it's not work, it's fun. And that's really the goal. We're not supposed to be struggling through life, and we're not supposed to be going to places that we hate, interacting with people we can't stand, and spending our time wishing we were somewhere
Mm-hmm.
else. We're here to discover our purpose and to live that purpose. And once you discover what that purpose is, you don't age, you don't lose energy. You're constantly re-energized and you're enjoying what you do. So that really should be everyone's goal, but we've been conditioned to believe that other people control our destiny and other people determine whether or not we can live the life we desire. So we have to uncondition ourselves out of that incorrect belief so that we can live our best life.
Amen. Whew. Now, before we get started going too much more deeper, because we didn't get deep already, I want to publicly say happy birthday.
Oh, thank
You know, you
you.
just celebrated a birthday this past weekend.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
you know, I said, well, dang, I'm a day late, but I'm going to call anyway, you know, because I saw it.
Well, I celebrate the whole month, so that's
Yeah,
okay. You're
okay,
not
well,
late.
good. But I want to let people know that you are celebrating another journey around the moon. Is that what it is? The moon or the earth or something like that?
I think, well, I guess it's another rotation of the sun
There
around
you
the
go.
earth.
Yeah,
Yes,
because you know I can't say it
yes.
right. You know, because I don't keep up with that kind of stuff like that. You know, but we know that you still here, and then you
Yeah,
had some great many years on the planet. How's that?
yes,
That's the
yes.
safe way of putting it, right?
That's it. Yes.
That's a safe way of doing it. Okay. Well, congratulations. Like you say, you're celebrating all month. So, do you have anything special that you can tell us about? I don't want everybody to know your business now if you don't want them to.
Well, I really am grateful for all of the women in our crew on the Female Solution Global Radio TV show that we do every day of the week because everybody is very much into health consciousness, mind, body, and spirit. You know, understanding that the thoughts you think actually create the body that you're wearing, and when you are when you keep your mind at a high level of consciousness, you're not judgmental, you're not angry, you're not vengeful, you're not jealous. When you have positive thoughts, when you're loving, you're kind, you're generous, you're compassionate, this actually affects the cells in your body. And when you can keep that higher vibration of thought, then our bodies do what they're meant to do, and that is to regenerate life. So I was grateful to be able to say I've celebrated 62 years of life, and I feel fantastic. You know, I was out jogging and just explaining basically you can reverse the aging process. All of us have gone through trauma in life that have affected uh, the events in our life have affected our bodies, because your body is your first communication system to tell you that your emotions are out of whack. And when you are in a prolonged state of emotional distress, it'll manifest as a physical illness. We're not taught this in our schools and in our medical professions, that our physical illness is a manifestation of our emotional distress. And also things like eating choices, you know, proper care of the body, sleep, and so forth, hygiene. But basically, when you have internal malfunctions, the energy of the negative energy has been affecting your body for a long time before it manifests in things like cancer, liver disease, heart disease. So when we know these things, then we can make a better effort to be conscious of our thoughts, realizing that the negative thought you send to somebody else is actually coming back to you and affecting you. So I'm excited because we have an opportunity to teach, and that's one of the major goals of the Female Solution Global Radio TV show, which is on Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central, and then Saturdays, 12 noon to 2 p.m., and Sundays, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time. Of course, adjust your time wherever you are in the world to know what time it is during Central Time. But what we want to do is raise consciousness. And we're part of the online network of associated internet radio hosts. And the acronym for that is On Air. And if you go to our website, onaireverywhere.com, you'll see a radio TV guide of people who are using the internet to raise consciousness, to actually change thought. And the programs that they put on are designed to help you to undo incorrect belief systems, to undo negative programming, and to replace it with positive thought, uplifting thought, inspirational thought, and above all, to help you see yourself differently. We are living in a world that has taught us that there's a hierarchy. Some people are better than other people, and all of that is false. We are part of the one energy of creation, and everybody is an expression of that energy. So, whatever that expression looks like, it is perfect for what it is. There's nothing wrong with your hair, your nose, your chin, your breasts, your rear end, your legs. Nothing's wrong with you at all. You are as you came here to be in this suit that you're wearing. It is perfect for the journey that you are on. So we have launched something that I am really enthusiastically looking forward to in May. And we've been talking about it for about a year now, but now we're ready to put it forth.
Let
And
me
this
ask you a
is the
question before you start talking about the actual the information you're getting ready to give. Let me ask the question. Let me have a couple of questions, okay?
absolutely.
I was listening to, the emphasis on all the things that you have turned around. How long did it take you to get to that mindset where you are now? Because you just didn't arrive there. You had to, on purpose, plan a trip and arrive at that destination. So along the way, before you got to that point where I need to take this trip, there, like you say, we've all been through some things. So how long did it take you to say, okay, something clicked, and say, okay, I need to do something different? So how long did it take you to get to that point?
It's a lifelong journey for
Mm-hmm.
everybody. Uh, when you come to the realization that everything that you have experienced was to give you a certain level of wisdom, then everything you experienced makes sense. Even the difficulties, even the things that you thought were mistakes. Every experience is designed to teach you something. Earth is a school of learning, and the way you learn is to go through things and then reflect on what you learn. So we're doing this as individuals and as a collective, and everybody's on their own life path. So if people are thinking, well, if I can just make you be like me, then you'll be correct. No, that's incorrect. However they are, that's how they're supposed to be for what they came here to learn. It took me, I guess, I would say the big transition in my life was the passing of my husband in 2007. We were a partnership. We wrote books together. We did stage productions together. We produced TV shows together, and our creative energy really helped us to grow as individuals and as a couple. And so when he was diagnosed with cancer, and we were very much health conscious, but like my father used to always say, you got to die from something. So even if you just leave here with a heart attack, your heart stops one day. This is like a temporary job assignment being here on earth. You're here to do your task and then you leave. There's an exit. And so when we realized this was going to be his exit, we made an agreement. Everybody's got a faith, or most people have some type of faith that they follow. Of course, we practicing the Muslim faith and everything. I was born and raised Christian, so I've uh, studied different belief systems. However, people always say, well, nobody comes back and tells you what happened. Well, I said, look, when you get to the other side, figure out a way to come back and tell me,
Mm-hmm.
because I want to know for sure what really happens. And it was an amazing thing. We have such a bond. He was able to do that.
Mm.
And I was having experiences a couple of days after the funeral of his visitations in spirit. And I kept a journal of it, and it ended up evolving into our last book we literally wrote together, which is a book called Visits from the Dream State. And I can probably pull up on screen here. And that's his cover on the
Mm-hmm.
book.
Yeah.
And I learned some things because we had been talking about all kind of metaphysical things. We talked about mental telepathy. So I was literally trying to figure this out. I said, now, if the essence of a person is still in existence, and you have a bond where you can communicate, and in his last days when he was very ill, he could not speak anymore. The cancer had spread. He couldn't speak. So I really had to turn on that telepathic communication that sometimes husbands and wives have, and interpret what he wanted to people because he couldn't speak. So I knew we had that level of closeness. So once he got to the other side, I knew that there was a way that we could still stay connected. And so I began to do research online. I was on the internet and Google and everything else, looking up things like uh, telepathic communication. I was looking up things like astral projection. How do you release your soul from your body when you're not crossing over? I was studying all kinds of things, and it was just a fascinating journey. And in my research, I was discovering so many people on the internet who had programs, and these are many of the people who are listed on the onaireverywhere.com website, and the listed under uh, people who are voices of enlightenment.
Mm-hmm.
They can take you to that next level of consciousness. And so I learned so much that transformed my thinking, and I realized that everything I had gone through in life, the religious studies that I had, the relationships that I'd had, the difficulties as a child, all of those things had brought me to this point of realization about existence.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew that my mission was to teach what I've learned. And I'm grateful for that, because some people live a lifetime and they never figure out why they're here, what they came here to do. I know my purpose now. And so I'm living that purpose. And that's what gives me so much energy.
Okay. So now my next question would be, which is going to lead into what you're going to tell us about your educational process you got coming up. I noticed that most of your broadcasts consist of women's group, females, empowered women, women that's been enlightened, any term that you want to use. What's wrong with the brothers? Why they ain't got in line? Yeah, why ain't included in this?
But now, I will say that is my co-host on Wednesdays is the day that I host the show,
Uh-huh.
and I have a male co-host because I want our perspectives to be balanced. And he's also even connected to a greater radio station, so we actually have two radio broadcast stations on the day that I host the show, American Muslim 360, and my co-host Kareem Hamid, very learned man, and every fourth Wednesday of the month, I have him host a male only show, and it's only the men talking. The women we don't call in and butt in. We just listen on the other line. We don't make comments where they can hear it, so they can feel like as men they're having a private conversation about things like their relationship with their mother and their father, their children, you know, their manhood, all these private things that men can talk about when women are not present. They're not trying to impress us or sound smart or any of that. They can really let go and talk about the experiences they've had in their lives and some of the pain they've gone through, some of the lessons they've learned. And then during the commercial breaks, we'll kind of talk among ourselves where they can't hear us and analyze what we heard them say. So it's an interesting setup because women get a chance to learn by listening rather than us saying, "Oh, you shouldn't be saying that, brother." Oh, blah 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 blah. We don't butt out. We don't butt in. We just listen so that we can understand how men think and how they feel. A lot of times we don't know, and so we do things that are damaging because we don't know. And you have so many women that have been raised in single parent, female headed households where they have not seen a healthy relationship between men and women. They don't know how to create it because they haven't seen it. And so they get into relationships and they make all the wrong mistakes because they have this anger, they have this sense of abandonment, they have father issues, and they bring all of that with them and they need to see themselves even. So in listening to the men, we learn a lot and the men get a chance to really be honest about what it feels like trying to be a man in this society.
So we do get a day of broadcasting.
You get one day out the whole month. No. Yeah, I guess it is one. No, actually, but to be honest though, more men call on the show than women. And so I would say if I looked at the daily callers, they're more male than female. And we actually get statistics. Blog Talk Radio keeps track of your listenership because they can tell what devices people listened in.
Right.
Whether it's by phone, whether it's by internet or whatever. And then we got all the Facebook pages. So, but the stats that they give us is like 70% men
Well,
listen. And I don't know if they listen because they want to know what are we saying about them or what, but even when it comes to participation, it's mostly men that call in with comments. And I don't know if it's because men feel like they need to tell us how to, what to think or whatever. But I respect the comments, even those that I don't necessarily agree with. But I've learned, even as a host and as an individual, you don't have to argue with people
right,
just because you don't agree with
right,
them.
right,
You can
right.
listen respectfully and say, "Oh, well, that's an interesting perspective," and I feel like, "No, you should say this. No, you got to believe that." No, I don't have to do that anymore. In my development in my younger years, I was very combative. I had to have the last word in the argument and verbally beat you down if you didn't agree. I don't do that
Yeah.
anymore, and that's growth that
And
I can see. And I try to help other women who might still be at that point where they think, I can't let you say that. You don't have to govern what someone says. Respectfully listen and try to understand things from their point
because
of
it's
view.
more than one way to look at things. Now,
Right.
speaking to that and understanding that men want knowledge, men want to understand. Speaking for myself, I used to watch Oprah, and I wanted to know
Yeah.
what y'all was fussing and complaining about, and what's going on and what's in the mind of a female, and I'd be like, okay, if I keep watching long enough, I'm gonna find out some stuff, So I used to tune in, just to see what the issues were. So sometimes, I can, like, okay, I can't do nothing about that. Y'all on your own.
Yeah.
you know.
Well, if you look at the history, though, of what has happened just on planet Earth,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in every culture, there's been a distortion in the balance in the relationship of males and
Yes.
females. And we seem to be the only species where there's this perpetual power struggle between the males and females. And it's not to say that in other species, the males are weak or anything. It's just we seem to be in a state of conflict, which is dysfunctional.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are things that need to be healed in terms of how we've treated each
Magic
other.
word.
Women have been treated like
Yep.
property, and that's even where the whole marriage structure came
Mm-hmm.
from, the idea of owning someone. I own you, I own the rights to your body, I own what comes out of your body.
Yep.
You can have a family and you can have responsibility for your children, but there is a partnership relationship that is the healthier relationship where in the division of labor and taking care of the children, both roles are respected. So one of the books that I was, and I'm sorry if I'm repeating
Oh,
myself,
no problem. Go right ahead.
but one of the things that I was moved to do after teaching in the schools and seeing that so many children were in states of emotional distress because of family breakups. I knew that there was an imbalance in the way we're seeing family. And so the book that I wrote, The Female Solution, that's kind of how the radio show evolved because I'm talking about I'm using the examples in nature. Um, Before this book, I was actually writing a series of children's books um, about various animal species. I had zebras, I had lions, I had birds, and all of that. And I was writing a series of children's books using these animal characters and writing it from like first person, like from the point of view of the animal. But I wanted to teach children about uh, animal culture in a way that gave them an inside view. So I also started writing this book about family relationships and all of that, and husband and wives. And so my husband came up with the idea. He said, "Well, why don't you add your animal stories to this book about family?" And so I did. And so at the beginning of each chapter, I give an example of someone from the animal kingdom, lions, how they organize their families and teach their children, zebras, how they go about mating, birds, how they go about building their homes, all that sort of thing, so that we can see as females that there's a certain responsibility that we have in maintaining the culture and keeping our children safe and making right choices of the ones that are going to reproduce with us. And when we make bad choices, then our families suffer. So we have to get back to our female instinct and knowing how to make the right choices of someone who has prepared themselves for fatherhood in the way that our human species needs to be prepared for fatherhood.
Yes.
And so in teaching this, the goal was to help people to correct some of the mistakes that we've made in our relationships that are the foundation of the family, the relationship between men and women, husbands and wives. And so that was the kind of the premise of the show. And a lot of the conflict that I saw in families really had to do with the absence of fathers and mothers who had a lot of emotional pain because of the way women are treated in this society. And they were inflicting that on the children. And I saw the direct connection between our crime rate and fatherless homes. And we know we had the drug era, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of drug addicted mothers
Yep.
and fathers. And so children are expressing the rage that they feel at being unloved. And that's where the crime is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why we are starting this next project, which I'll talk about after your next
No, no,
question.
no. That was a perfect lead in. So you have a training institution that you all have put together that you are launching. So tell us about that.
Yes. And that is entitled the New Earth Homeschool Academy. And we'll be teaching online. And of course, after we've taught the classes live, then they'll be in the archives available. And the first course we're teaching is Parenting with Peace. And this course is for parents on how to teach, guide, and correct children using love and not fear. When the threat is you're going to get a beating, you're going to get punished, you're going to get slapped around, you're going to get humiliated or whatever, you're using fear to force behavior that you want. That's not teaching, that's intimidation.
And in some
And
cases,
in a
child
lot of ways,
abuse.
it's bullying. And in many ways, it's child abuse.
Yeah.
But because a lot of us were raised that way, we
Right.
think that's
Right. Yeah. Uh,
that is absolutely not
yeah.
correct. And so we want a world to evolve as a peaceful world where you can't have peace using violence. You can't instill peace in a child in a household where they're afraid that they're going to get slapped all the time or verbally abused or even sexually assaulted, because things happen in households that shouldn't, because parents are emotionally
Yeah.
damaged.
So what's
So,
the age groups for for the education? Is for the parents to be able to teach the children homeschool, what age groups?
well, first of all, we're starting out with this first course, Parenting with Peace, are for parents and those who are parents to be. So those who are young adults, because one of the first lessons is preparing for conception, which means before you even have a child, there are things that you must do. So this course is kind of a prerequisite to the next course that we're offering in conjunction with the Global Peace Organization that we've been affiliated with, Heavenly Culture World Peace Restoration of Light, which is a global peace organization headquartered out of South Korea, and the letters are HWPL. And they have a peace education class that they've been presenting worldwide, but having some difficulties getting it into the public school system here in America. And so I said, well, why don't we work with you and present it as an online course? That way you don't have to get permission from the Board of Education and, the school boards in all these cities. And then they give you resistance because they don't like you or they don't trust you or whatever. You can, and we know because of COVID, people now are learning things online. So take the power back from institutions and give it back to the parents where it belongs when it comes to what your child needs to learn. Instead of us arguing and being angry and saying the public schools aren't teaching this and that, let us teach ourselves. All we need is a course in which we can do the teaching. And that is what this represents. And their peace education class really helps teach some ethics and values along with the basic education. What you really need is how to learn how to be a better person.
Yeah.
Whatever else, whatever other skills you learn that you're going to contribute to the society, it's not as important as learning how to be a good person, how to interact with other beings, how to contribute to the world community in a positive way. If you don't have that right, then nothing else really matters. So that's the undercurrent of that education course, which means, was it saying, you can't teach what you don't know and you can't lead where you don't
Yep.
go. So parents have to be prepared emotionally, psychologically, and
Yep.
spiritually to teach in a different way. So if they're going to be the instructors or they're going to help facilitate the instruction, they have to have the right atmosphere in the
In order
household,
to do it.
which means they have to first do some self-examination. So in this 12 session Parenting with Peace course, we first start out with self-examination. What's inside of you?
Yep.
And we really help people go through the process of examining what triggers them to anger, what unhealed emotional wounds they may have, because all of that is what affects your parenting skills. If you're slapping a 2-year-old because they tell you no, and in your mind, oh, they disrespected me, I'm going to show them who's boss. A 2-year-old is not disrespecting you. A 2-year-old is merely using the language that you taught them, expressing their disagreement with something. That they're a free will being and they have a free will to like or dislike something.
Right.
But how you respond shows your maturity level as a parent, your understanding as a parent. And if you are feeling disrespected by this 2-year-old, it's because somewhere in your life, someone did disrespect you.
Right.
Someone did make you feel lesser worthy, but it's not that 2-year-old. So you don't hit them because they tell you no, because your ego is bruised. You have to get that out of you in order to be able to
To deal with your
help guide
children
this child in the
properly.
way you want them
Yeah.
to go.
We got a couple of comments here. Karen Abbott Trimmel, who's been on the show many times. Uh,
Ah, I can.
yeah, she said, I agree, and I'm glad you're teaching peace, powerful. And then her second comment is, where were you, you know, yeah,
Naima,
that
Naima.
one. When I was raising my children, I will definitely pass this information on. So yes,
Yeah.
now that's the young lady I was telling you about. That is an author, playwright. You know that she
Mm.
would be definitely good for that
Yeah, we need to meet
that
her.
woman's power
Yes.
group you got going on, because she's a powerful entity to herself,
Oh,
and she can bring
yeah.
in her network, you know, to enjoy what you guys are doing, and then you all can enjoy what she's doing. She's got an event coming up. She sent me a flyer on that. I don't know when it was. No shameless plugs for her right now. She's gonna have to come on my show and talk about
Yes.
it. But yeah, she's very, very, you know, powerful in what she does. And you know, and see one thing. Some men. Let me just throw this out there. Okay, some men are
Mhm.
intimidated by women power. Okay, because they're like, they got all this woman power stuff going on. Yeah. They don't understand that the power that is generated in unity and togetherness, it creates a something that you want to be in the presence of. you
Yeah.
know. And see, men get intimidated because all they want to do is get together and drink beer. They be like, I'll meet you at the bar at 3 o'clock. Okay, 3 o'clock, happy hour. And then they gonna hang out and then they talk about sports, and things like that. And there's nothing being accomplished. Yeah, I said it out loud. I know the brother's gonna be
Mhm.
mad at me, but there's nothing being accomplished. You know.
Well, I think it's important for women to understand that men need to have that time with themselves and need to be able to enjoy and relax and enjoy life without criticism. The thing that creates a disturbance is when people perhaps use alcohol to self medicate.
Mm-hmm.
And because life is so stressful, because their jobs often they go to they hate and they don't want to be at. So kind of altering your brain chemistry so you can relax and feel better. That becomes what the beer and the wine, everything is for. But it also alters your personality in ways that could be unpleasant. And this is maybe where the clash comes in. And not to say that women don't drink too, because they're under the same stressors. But when that becomes a habitual act where you've got to always escape because life is so unpleasant. It affects your body physically. You get the beer gut and everything, but it also, kills brain cells. But most importantly, it doesn't help you deal with stress in a healthy, sober way.
Yeah.
And so you find that people, they got the habitual, got to have a drink after work. The greater the stress, the more the drinking
Yeah. But but
and
but
the
even
more
with
the
that,
distorted
you
behavior.
know, men need to still come together and empower one another.
They do.
Okay, and
They do.
that's the point that's left out. Okay, so now
Yeah, and that's the
Yeah,
thing, you gotta have that
it-
camaraderie, and even if a man is married, he still needs to have his male friends,
right,
just like women wanna have their women friends. So, it's important if people become a couple that they don't smother each other. Let the man enjoy his friends, and stop
yes,
worrying about, "Oh, is he chasing women? Is he doing that?" Let him live. He's gonna be who he is, and he's gonna enjoy his friends. Do not make a person feel like they're your possession. You can't own a
right,
person. You can choose to be companions in life, but you can't own a
right.
person, and you don't own their time, you don't own their
They eye,
emotions, you don't
you
own their
don't own
body.
their eyeballs, cause I see,
You don't own their eyes, you
look,
don't own
I've
anything
seen
on them.
women snap, crackle, and pop in the mall because they man looked at a big booty. She was walking past, and he was like, "Ooh, look at that booty there." Well, she just snapped. I was like, when did he become a slave? Just because he got a piece of paper, that says, until death do us part. Now all of a sudden, his eyeballs belong to her. I'm like, really? Come on, man. And it's
Well,
no disrespect in that, cause he going home with his wife. He ain't leave his wife in the mall, you know. But
that's one of the reasons, and in the book, The Female Solution, it drew quite a bit of controversy about a lot of things because I wanted to emphasize that you do not own a person. If you choose to be life companions and you choose to be supportive of each other in this journey together, you do not own that person.
yes,
They're going to leave you and you're going to leave them when you return to the non physical from whence we all came. So during the time that you're together, give each other the freedom to live. You don't own their eyes, you don't own their ears, you don't own their emotions, you don't own if they're attracted to someone else, you don't own anything, any of their feelings. You're simply deciding that you're going to be life companions and be supportive of each other in that process. So the whole jealousy issue, again, a distorted belief in owning a person, which is a very unhealthy way of looking at the companionship relationship and the way it needs to be for the good of our families. But that comes out of insecurity. And a lot of insecurity comes out of feelings of abandonment, especially if you had if a woman who grew up in a household saw that her father left her mother, that's a wound that she's still carrying and a
yes.
fear that she's still carrying. So that extreme jealousy comes out of that fear that she's going to lose someone. We can't lose a
Right.
person. They're with you by free will. If they choose to leave you, that's still their free will, just like it's your free will to leave them.
There's an expression that I used to hear growing up. If you love someone, set them free.
Right.
And
If they come back to you,
yeah, they're yours. If they don't
then
come back,
if they don't,
then they
then
were
you
never
are.
yours in the first place. I
Right.
want to comment on Karen. Karen is all into this conversation. She said that is so true, Dr. Ron. Men need to empower one another.
Yeah.
Let me make a comment about that. I was talking with somebody earlier today, and of course, all in the headlines over the last couple of weeks, we've been, beating up on the fact that Will Smith and Chris Rock had their encounter publicly, and everybody saw it and had 2 cents to add to it. Some people even had a quarter. So I was sharing with them that I saw on social media that a celebrity was willing to put up $1 million to see them do a celebrity boxing match.
Oh, stop.
I'm like, are you kidding me? $1 million to
Somebody
see them
figured
fight.
out how to make some
That
money.
is so
Yeah, that's
retarded.
so
That is so retarded. If you want
now this is
to,
what I
now,
would
well,
like to
wait a minute.
see.
Let me finish. If you got $1 million that you just want to put up to waste or something like that, take $100,000 and sprinkle it through the hood. Okay,
Yeah.
do
Why
something.
don't you pay some young men to not
Yeah,
fight?
or
Because
pay
that
some
that's this is
college tuitions or something. Give some folks
yes.
some free rides to go to college. See, that
Yes.
would be more empowering than to try and start. a celebrity cage match, with
Oh,
Will Smith. It's already enough disaster going on with that, that he didn't
yeah.
even have to put 2 cents in that conversation. He should have just left that alone, went down and just paid some tuitions. Since you got that kind of money, you should have went down to one of these graduations and say, y'all ain't got no student loans no more. Because there have been people that are in good shape that have done
Right.
that, you know, you know,
Yeah.
and that would have been a far more empowering, and I know I said that word
Yeah.
wrong. That would be far more, encouraging, than to try and say, I want to see these two black people fight in a cage somewhere. That's stupid to
Yeah.
me. Okay,
Yeah.
so I
Yep.
just had to get that out. So I didn't mean to
Okay,
cut you
great.
off.
But that lets you know the mindset that there are people who enjoy watching violence. And this is all part of why we're doing this parenting for peace and preparing for the peace education classes to follow, because we have to change the mindset. I was watching a video and I can't remember the person speaking, but I think he was an executive in the record industry, and he talked about how they deliberately financed the rappers that talked about the violence and the
Hmm.
gangster rap and all that, because they said that's what
Right.
sells. And so a large part of that does influence behavior. But also, what influences behavior is what happens in your home. And coming out of this was the revelation. And of course, his book had just come out. His book, Will, had just come out. Will Smith talked about how it just traumatized him seeing his father beat up his mother, and how he felt, I guess, like a coward that he didn't step in and help. He was a child, of course, but he was carrying that.
Right.
He mentioned that his whole life. So people kind of understood, okay, that when you slapped Chris Rock, you weren't really slapping Chris. You were, maybe slapping your father, or
Right.
maybe even, another male that you felt like disrespected your manhood, but it wasn't really about Chris in the
Right.
comment. Uh, and then Chris Rock has talked about his trauma and being bullied, and his parents send him to a predominantly white school, and he was beat up every day and all of that. So both of these men have been through the trauma of
Right.
violence, and I would say probably every man in the penitentiary has gone through some kind of childhood trauma, and it got reenacted in their adult life, and now they're doing
Right.
time. But giving people more pain who are expressing the pain they're in, that makes no sense. What people need is to heal from the hurt that happened in childhood 9 times out of 10 and affected their whole life, their personality. And whether it came in a burst out of nowhere, like with Will Smith, or maybe it was somebody who was, always beating up people. They was a bully in school, and then they grew up and beat up people, and finally end up getting put in jail for shooting somebody, or whatever the case may be. Still, it starts in
Yeah.
childhood. And that's why we're doing the parenting with peace class, because the damage that we do in our ignorance to children is what we're experiencing in our society in every phase of violence, whether it be personal violence or collective violence of war. It's the same
Yeah.
distorted
Trauma.
lack of love, the
Yeah.
trauma that we experience, the reason why we're expressing violence in others. And it can stop if we change the way we raise our children.
Okay. So now you built it up so wonderfully. So where can they get in this class? Where can they find the information to get in this class?
We're going to be launching it, so look for it in May, and the website is newearthhomeschoolacademy.com, and it's online as a course. And the first enrollees, we'll be talking about this on our radio show. First enrollees, we're going to give you an opportunity to take the class at no cost. We're going to provide like a, you know, uh, free course for some specially selected groups also. I used to teach a parenting class for women who had lost their children to DCFS, and they were doing time in jail. And when you get arrested and you have children home alone and nobody knows where they go, they end up in the system, they end up in foster care. And once they were in jail, they couldn't get their children back until they passed a parenting class. But at the time, the jail didn't have a parenting class, which meant they weren't going to get their children back. So I came in and taught a parenting class. At the end of the course, they got a certificate. They were to get their children back from the state. So a lot of those uh, kinds of steps, we're going to look at people who may need to pass a parenting class in order to get their children back. And also, we're going to look at uh, offering it to parents at schools where there are a lot of troubled children. And of course, we're going to open it up for those who want it. So look for it online in May. And we're, again, New Earth stands for Natural Environment, Wholesome Education, Awakening Responsibility to Humanity. That's what New Earth stands for. So we're looking at the 16th of May. We will be online, so look for it. And definitely, we're excited about being able to change some of the concepts that people go into parenting with. A lot of it having to do with, you have to make these children behave. They need a good beating. You don't let them run wild. Well, just because a child expresses their free will doesn't mean they're running wild. What you have to have is the skill to guide them in the right behavior. You don't see animals out in the wild mauling their children. There is a way that you communicate. There's body language and other voice and other ways that you shape behavior early on. And if you the once you hit your child, you have broken the trust. They will not trust you, and they will eventually lie to you because you are not safe. They can't trust that you will not harm them. And so, if you don't want to create a liar, you have to learn the skills of how to shape and correct and mold behavior without using violence, either verbally or physically. And for most people, that means you have to do a whole lot of self correction, which is why you start out with really examining those unhealed wounds inside, because there's a whole lot of Will Smiths out there that pop up and slap people every day, but it's not that person they slapped. It's the parent that beat them,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where a lot of violence comes from.
Yes. Now you're on 7 days a week, and they can find all of your programming on onaireverywhere.com. So if they go to their website, they'll be able to find you very easily and be able to follow, your programming. Get some information to be able to reach out to you and be able to, keep up with where you're going with the online classes.
Yeah.
Shout out to
Yeah.
Chris Williams. He's a book author as well. He'll be coming on the show next month.
Oh,
Let's see.
great.
Karen said we need to stop promoting trauma. Yes, Karen is all into this conversation.
Great. Well, I'm sure Karen will enjoy this class if she's got children that are grown, or even if she's raised them already and she's, on the second level of parenthood, which is
Grandparents, yeah,
grandparenthood. And a lot of us, we get it right the second time around. We've made all the mistakes the first time, and then when we get the
yeah,
grandchildren, we're more patient. We're more forgiving. We're more loving. We're more affectionate. We do all the things that we didn't do with the first set of children because we didn't know any better.
yeah.
You
Look,
know, and
but
and
but
and
but
so
it's generational. My mama child abused me, so I child abused my children. It's too late now. Ain't no help for me. Yeah.
well, what tends to happen when you go through, because most of us in this age bracket, what we experienced was in fact
Yeah.
abuse. But either you learn from it and you choose not to raise your child the same way, or you emulate it and you
Oh
raise your
no, I
child
had
the
to get
same way.
even. I ain't gonna be the last generation to get beat, not get beat. No, no. I don't believe in no timeouts. I ain't putting my child in no corner nowhere. I'm like, no, come here, boy. Let me knock you out. Yeah,
But I actually chose not to hit my
and that's
child.
okay.
And
That's fine.
you
I'm
know,
just saying what happened in me and my household. Okay.
but I have to also say she had a peaceful nature because that's who she is. Now, if I'd have had somebody who maybe was a little more strong-willed, that might have been a little more
My
challenging
son
for
was
me to use
six
that
foot
method.
four, looking down on
Yeah,
me. I'm only 6'3". Okay, yeah, look, he is not about to have me for lunch. I'm gonna have him for lunch. Okay, so we had to go through that, but yeah, that's a different story altogether. Now, did you have some other need to know information that you needed to put out, or did we hit everything?
Well, of course, tomorrow I'll be hosting the show, and myself and my co-host, and we have a special guest every third uh, Wednesday. Her name is Mama Joy Segur, and she'll be talking specifically about empowering women and reversing some of the mistaken belief systems. We have a lot of religious programming that's very repressive for women, and it really needs to be undone in our cultures. We have a lot of distorted beliefs about sexuality, and if we can't get that right, we're not going to be able to fix a whole lot of our problems. One of the things that we seek to do, even with our parenting class, is to remove the distorted beliefs about sexuality. And we know that just from the stories of women getting stoned in the past and all of that, the control of whether or not a woman has sex, that has just been an obsession of men that has no place in a healthy society. We need to understand the spiritual energy exchange for what it is so we can honor it properly, remove the fear of it, remove the desire to control it, remove the condemnation of it, and allow it to be that bonding act that it's supposed to be for men and women in order to strengthen them emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And
Amen.
women need to take more control of that process of teaching it. So we'll talk about that more with Mama Joy
Look,
Segura
I'm gonna tune
tomorrow,
in.
7 a.m. to 9 a.m.
I'm gonna
Central
be
on the Female Solution Global Radio
I'm gonna be
TV show.
taking notes tomorrow. I need to know that stuff. My brother in broadcasting, Mr. Reggie Miles, is on the air with us. He said, "Looking good, sounding good." He said, "Oh my," to the sex stuff. Uh, oh my again. Reggie is one of the broadcasters that's with me each and every Thursday on the Street News Now. Six Guys and You. We have you all have y'all women's show. We got our men's show.
Well, all right.
You know.
Well, that's good though. That's so needed.
Yes. Oh
I think
yes.
men have been taught to not speak, which is not good. And if you don't express your thoughts, then where does that energy go? It explodes in, you know,
In the wrong.
what they call toxic
Yeah. In the wrong
masculinity. So
directions. So now
yeah,
we've been here an hour already. I know time flies when you're having fun. So I got two
yeah,
questions.
yes,
First
sir,
of all, would you come back and see me again? All
absolutely.
right. And second of all, what would you like to leave with the people before we get out of here today?
You are a soul having a wonderful experience in learning. Love yourself. You are perfect as you are. You are an expression of the divine. You are a unique expression of the divine. Love yourself and love others, even those who don't love themselves and cannot love you, because the energy of creation is love.
Amen.
Discover that
Amen.
and live it
Woo!
every
You
day.
started out strong and ended up strong, boy. I tell you. You can find her on aireverywhere.com. Go over there and check her out. Reach out to her, join her broadcast. Go find her on Facebook, become a friend. Let her know, hey, I saw you on Dr.Ron. Hey, so you stay right there. Don't go anywhere. We got to get out of here. I want to throw this information up on the screen. Please join me each and every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook and on YouTube. We have a power pack out hours, plural, of information and conversation that will leave you scratching your head sometimes. You'd be like, what the hell did they just say? So definitely tune in and check us out. Also, check me out each and every Saturday, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, from the desk of Dr. Ron on my YouTube channel live. You know, I answer questions and try and give people informative, helpful hints and knowledge that can help you get through some things that you might be struggling with. So, from the desk of Dr. Ron, each and every Saturday. We're going to throw some information up here where if you want to make contributions, this is all of my information where you can support me. Please go over to my website, ask-dr-ron.com. When you get over there, please support all of my advertisers, support everybody. They make it possible for us to do what we do. Scroll up to the top, you'll see all of my social media. Please go over to my YouTube channel and like, subscribe, and be in tune with what's going on. Once again, I thank my lovely guest for coming on board, being with us today. She'll be back again, y'all. I got her now. She like it over here. You know, she'll be back again. I love you all. You all stay empowered, stay blessed. See you all on Thursday. Peace.